welcome to another edition of modifications, about modifications in your base. Okay, so the next modification that you can do with your base, okay, is the nut. Okay, the nut has two materials that are popular. Actually, maybe three, technically three. Okay, but basically these are just two: bone and brass. Okay, so you have the brass nut and the bone nut. Alright, difference, okay, just the material, tone wise, okay, somewhat the same. However, I saw in an article by Roger Sadowski the problem with brass nuts. Okay, well, this is what he said: it tends to choke the strings. However, I talked to the bassists who use bass guitars that have brass nuts, okay, namely Spectors. Spector basses have brass nuts, okay, as their stock nut here, okay, brass nuts. It's fine, okay. A popular bassist here in the Philippines, a well-respected bassist in the Philippines, said that the only difference that he noticed, okay, about the difference between the bone and the brass nut, when you slap the open string, in the brass nut it tends to be brighter. The nut, whether it is brass or bone, is only useful in the open string. Okay, it will affect the string only in the open string here. But when you fret a string, the nut has nothing to do with it anymore. So here, the nut is not a factor anymore. But when I release it, okay, the nut comes into action. Alright, so there. So the nut, okay, will also contribute to the feel, okay, to the feel and the intonation, the feel and intonation. But tone wise, okay, in my opinion only, it's very subtle. Okay, whether you're using a brass nut or a bone nut, okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, the only time that you replace your bridge is if the nut breaks. Okay, this one can actually break. Okay, this one can actually break. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, there are nuts that are made of plastic. Okay, I left out plastic. So three materials. Okay, bone, okay, bone, plastic, and brass. All right. So there. So it's just a matter of personal preference. Okay, me, I prefer the bone nut. So the bone nut is actually classified into two: natural and synthetic. But to me, it doesn't really spell a difference. That's why I did not replace the nut. As long as the nut is properly calibrated to your bridge, okay, and it gives off a nice feel, don't replace it anymore. Alright? And it might cost you more than you should. Okay? So just replace it if it becomes broken, or maybe it turns up loose. Okay? That's the only time you should replace it. Okay? So on to the next part.